Greetings, greetings, greetings. Happy Mother's Day. And today we're celebrating animal mothers, specifically the elephant. I'd love to have you say hello in the chat box. Tell us where you're from. Tell us what your favorite animal is. If we haven't met before, hi, I'm Christine. I'm a naturalist, environmental educator, and visual artist from Central Oregon. And today we have chosen the elephant because that was the one voted number one by my viewers and subscribers. Now, of course, there are a lot of other famous mammal mothers, like other primates like orangutans and chimpanzees, marine mammals like orcas, kangaroos, polar bears. There's a lot of them that were voted for and that are famous for being wonderful mothers. But we're going to focus on the elephant. And I want to say hi to Dorothy in the chat box. I'm so glad you're looking forward to this. So today we are going to be talking about the elephant and why it's such a great mother. Now, I know everyone is a great mother, and I want to wish you a happy Mother's Day, whether you're a mom or a child or a grandmother. Happiest Mother Day to you. So first, we're going to be looking at the anatomy of the elephant, and specifically the anatomy that relates to being a mother. And then we will be drawing the elephant together. Now, you can gather any kind of pencil or paper you want, or if you are not able to draw along or don't feel like it today, that's fine. I still encourage you to watch while I draw so that you get an idea of my techniques and style. And then you can always watch again, watch the replay. And if you want, you can watch it without the words that can distract you, because I do tend to talk a lot. So anyway, this is the elephant we're going to draw, this mother elephant. And then we're going to add a baby to it, like the baby in this photo, although the picture isn't as clear for you. And so that's why I'm going to add the little baby right here. And we'll do that later on. Okay. So why are elephants the best moms? Well, for one thing, it takes them until they're about 25 years old to even become a mom at first. And then, of course, they live in herds that are matriarchal. So they're run by the oldest female who has probably been a mother many times. And so mostly the herds are made up of females, and the males are cast out into bachelor herds. And here's an example of a big male with his really big tusks. Not all elephants get tusks, and they do have them of different sizes. And of course, their tusks are one of the main reasons they're endangered from poaching. But anyway, the males have super big tusks, and they will, of course, mate with the females. And the females, again, are great mothers because they have a gestation period of almost 2 years, generally 18 to 22 months. And you might not be able to tell very well in this photo, but this is their teats. They have a pair of teats between their front legs, just like in human moms. And another picture you can see that the teat is right here because it's really well backlit by the grass. And then this is another picture of a mother's teat. So there aren't very many animals that have the teats between the two front legs. Most of them, if you think of like a cow or a deer, they're back here. Now, there's a long description of why, but the benefits of having the teats there are that it's a little easier for the calf to reach them. And the calf is then closer to its mother, and she can comfort the calf and protect it while it's nursing from those front teats. So that calf will nurse for up to 4 years. They'll even nurse off and on up to maybe about 10 years. but the female in general will be receptive to having to being getting pregnant again by a big bull and having babies between 3 and 6 years on. So the baby that's growing will have to kind of move on. And another reason why they're such great mothers is they are going to keep in touch with that baby. It's going to stay in that herd, especially if it's a female calf, the rest of its life, because the herds are matriarchal and they generally kick out the males because they get to be a little bit too frisky, and they make their own bachelor herds away from the main female's herd. So she's going to be teaching that baby the rest of her life. So lots of things to teach that baby, including, what to eat and who the predators are, how to find water, because some of those baby calves will end up to become the matriarch of the whole herd and possibly live 70 years and have the responsibility of leading that herd away from danger and towards water and towards good foraging lands. So a lot of work to be done. But anyway, when the calf is born, it can be about 200 pounds and about 3 feet tall. And it's going to start drinking. Of course, right away, it needs that nutrition. It can grow several pounds every day, and it's going to be drinking or nursing from the mother's teats. It's going to drink about 3 gallons a day. And again, gain several pounds a day, and then begin to start foraging on plants a bit later on. But interestingly, that mother, she is making interesting milk. There's the teats again. Her milk is going to change in composition as the baby grows. And so depending on its nutritional needs. That milk has a very high fat content, so it's going to have lots of calories for that baby to grow. And it's going to change in composition, I read, 4 times during those years that the baby is growing. I read on the Conservation International website that its composition changes, especially when the baby is teething. And if you've ever had kids before, you might not remember when you were a kid, but if you've ever had kids, you know that teething is a very painful process. And so the female will choose to forage on plants that have anti-inflammatory properties to help ease the pain of that teething. So I found that a really interesting fact that I learned on the Conservation International website. Now, in the chat box, please be sure to say hello. I'm going to try to watch the chat. And if you have any questions, just ask me. I'm not an elephant biologist, but I am a general naturalist. And I've taught lots of these workshops on the African and the Indian elephant. And I've actually seen elephants in the wild on the island of Borneo, a very special kind of elephant called the Bornean pygmy elephant. And we actually saw the babies with the mothers, and you could also see their teats again here. So so where was I? Okay, so yeah, and another reason they're such good moms is they act as aunties as well. So again, this herd is matriarchal. It's all the mothers and their babies and grandbabies. And so they're going to help. The aunties are going to help protect the babies and teach them the ways of the world, since they live so long, over 70 years. And so, especially once the female who's nursing mates again after 3 to 6 years, she's going to be a little bit busy with the new one. So the aunties are really important in that lifelong learning. There's a couple other types of animals that are distantly related to elephants that have the teats between the 2 front legs, and that includes manatees, which I've taught you guys how to draw before. You can see that tutorial in a different YouTube video. And also another African animal called the rock dassy or hyrax, which is distantly related as well. Okay, well, I bet you want to start sketching. Tell me in the chat box if you're ready to sketch, if you're going to follow along, or if you're just going to watch. And so I'm going to set these pictures aside for now. And we're going to move this. This is an example of what we're going to draw. And again, I want you to focus on the action of drawing and not so much the product. I like to tell people focus on learning to draw while drawing to learn, in that the act of actually looking at something long enough to draw it is going to help you to learn about its anatomy. And that, I feel, is the most important thing. So here we go with the photograph. Oh, and I did want to say that there is a link below to my course on sketching mammals, and I'll tell you about that at the end more. But I have set the elephant drawing workshop to be a free preview. So if you want to watch a much more detailed workshop on the biology of African elephants and download these high resolution images, and see a longer, more detailed drawing demo, you can do that later. And I'll remind you at the end again. So don't go there now. Stay focused. Okay. So I'm going to move this. And again, please ask me any questions you may have. The only way I know that you're actually here is if you're commenting in the chat box. Now, I know that only people that are already have a YouTube channel can comment. So I'm sorry about that, but I will hope that the other ones of you are hearing me and enjoying the content. Okie dokie. So I'm going to put my glasses on and we're going to get started. So first we're going to look at this female, and then, well, actually this is a male, so I'm turning her into a female. And this one doesn't have any tusks either, you'll notice. It makes it a little simpler to draw. And then we're going to add the baby, since this is Mother's Day. So we're going to add the baby about right here, between the mother's legs. So we're going to draw the legs really lightly so we can for sure add the cute little baby there. All righty. And then later on, we'll talk about why I've got this sun icon here and my famous value scale here that we'll describe later. Okie dokie. So I think I'm going to put this. I've already glued it on here in the middle a little bit more. There we go. Okay. Yeah. And again, later on, you can download the high resolution images. I'll tell you how to do that. And then at the end, I'll tell you all about my course, which is on sale right now. All right. So I hope you guys can see this and that it's in focus. Yeah, so let's get started looking. Now, this is the African elephant species. Looks a bit different than the one in Asia and India. That one has smaller ears, and I also have a tutorial in my course on that one. But the African elephant is kind of more famous, and I've got more pictures of it, so we're drawing that one. And so the first thing you'll notice is the big triangular ears compared to the Asian elephant. And this elephant has the tusk inside the mouth. They use that tusk for many, many things. And the baby takes actually a pretty long time to learn how to work its tusk. And that's another reason African elephants are such good mothers, because they are teaching their babies and being very patient with their babies as they learn how to use their tusk. Then you'll notice that we've got some various parts, and just noticing their proportions. So we've got the skull, which is about the same proportion as the ear. Then we have the shoulder blade here and running down into the front foot. And we have the elbow right here. We've got an elbow here. And then those feet are really enlarged. They're kind of like triangular. They're larger to really support that animal. And elephants can famously kind of hear through their feet. They'll make these sounds that are below the range of human hearing. And elephants far away can sense that and communicate long distance. And they have 5 toes on their front, but you can only see 2 or 3 from the side, and 4 toes on the back. And this one's lifting its leg, so you can see the bend here, which is basically the wrist. And they have a very interesting patterns underneath that are unique, like our fingerprints. Isn't that cool? And then you've got the belly, and they're really deep bellied, and you can see how deep this belly is compared to the length of the leg. It's almost the same. The belly's a little bit even deeper than the legs. So that's something you're going to want to notice when you're drawing four-legged animals. Like if you compare other African animals, like a gazelle would have a longer proportion of legs compared to the body width. Of course, giraffes would have much longer. And so that's just something to notice when you're going to start to draw something, the relative proportions of this box of the main body compared to the box of the legs. And then there are the hips, and you can see actually a slight angle right here, just like you see an angle here to the shoulder. There's an angle at the hip. And you can even see a little shadow here of part of the hip and the knee shadow, which you see a knee here as well. And then down to the leg again, and the toes, which have toenails on them, kind of like we have, sort of toenails. So they're a little bit different than like the hoof of a horse. And then a pretty long tail with this sort of scraggly, what do you call the hair on the end of the tail. And they use that a lot to communicate pleasure or displeasure, and also to get the flies off them, and the oxpecker birds, which are always bugging them to try to get the ticks off. Alrighty. And then again, at the end, we're going to add the baby. So we're going to kind of keep the lines for the legs pretty light. And baby mammals, just like if you think of a baby human, they have different proportions. Just like if you see a little newborn baby, it's going to have a huge head compared to the size of its body, compared to the adult, which has a pretty small head compared to the size of the body. So that's how you make it look different than just a small version of an adult elephant. So yeah, I had another picture here somewhere, but I can't find it. Anyway, okay, so let's finally get started. I do spend quite a bit of time explaining the anatomy first so that you'll really understand it and feel more confident drawing. Okay, and so I'm going to draw really lightly and loosely, and I want you to try to draw the same. Now, in real life, I would be drawing this light, but you can't really see that. So I'm going to be pressing down a little heavier than I want you to, because so that you can see it well. But just stay super light and loose. And we're really not going to erase much. We're going to try to get all the basic shapes in first, and then we'll erase before we start doing any shading. Okay. So again, if you have any questions, put them in the chat box. I know some of you can't enter the chat box, but you could put a comment in later on possibly, and I can reply to those. Okay, so the first thing I do when I'm drawing is I kind of just show where the animal is going to be on the page. And so I'll kind of just make a line down here and just kind of show. Now, of course, we couldn't do this if we were sketching out in the field live, but we're going to try that. Now, yeah, I would love to bring people to Africa to sketch live wildlife someday. I was on the roster to lead a tour with the tropical birding tours to South Africa, but we had one fewer person that we needed to sign up. So if you're interested in going to Africa with me, put that in the comments and we'll chat about that later. Okay, so anyway, I've just made a little box very lightly showing where my animal's going to be. Now I'm going to sort of just very quickly block in these major areas in sort of a symbolic shapes. So we're just going to put the head here, and just again trying to look at the proportion. Now often people are going to want to make the head too big. We generally make things too large that we think are important. So, for example, when you're a kid, you probably drew people with really big eyes and hair and no forehead because we didn't think the forehead was very important. We thought the eyes and the smile was important. So that's kind of the region of where the head's going to be. And then the ear, again, thinking about the relative proportions. So the ear, if we measured it, is a little bit wider actually than the whole head. And so I need to do that there. And again, my brain was probably just making it a little bit smaller because again, we think the head is so important. But again, we see how wide that is compared to the head. All right. And then, yeah, we're pretty good here. Then we're going to add the block of the body. And again, remembering that it's pretty boxy. It's like a big rectangle. So I'm just going to draw sort of rectangle first, and then we'll make more of the shape. So the rectangle for the main part of the body. And again, I can cheat a bit since this is a photograph. There we go. Pretty good. And then noticing that the legs are going to be about that same extra width. And it kind of looks out of proportion here, but once we start drawing it, we'll see. So again, these guys, have shorter legs in proportion to their body than, say, a gazelle or, of course, a zebra. Well, not so much zebra, but a giraffe. Yeah. Okay, so now we've got that boxed in. Let's get our shoulder angle here and our hip, because we do want to show that. It's easy to sort of over round things. I think I'm getting him a little bit too far that way, but that's okay. Her, that is. Or we'll make it a her. This is a boy, but we're gonna make it a her. Okay, so it's important to really show those shoulder blades and the hip. And then we're going to bring this over. Again, I got my whole elephant a little bit too far over. That's okay. Okay, so that's kind of the rump there. And then we have the front of the leg. And let's just get that belly sort of. And we see that the belly is wider down here. It's kind of fatter back here. And then we're not going to forget to add the teat. We're going to have to add a teat here pretty soon. It's going to be farther back. Okay, don't let me forget to add the teat because this is the female. All righty. So now let's get the legs, and we'll make this front leg here, noticing how wide it is here and how we have this elbow. See, it's the elbow. So they have all the same bones. Most mammals we know of pretty much have the same bones that we do, humans do. And so we're going to kind of block off these legs a little bit more, just super lightly. So we just kind of know where they're going to be. And there's the hip. And knee, and like that. So again, not very realistic yet. We're just blocking it in. We're going to add that tail, which is so important for swatting flies. I'm going to make it look a little bit more fun, like it's actually swatting a fly. So it's going to be kind of like that. All righty. Okay. And so now that we have everything a little bit blocked in, let's see, where are we going to put the baby? Yeah, we'll talk about the baby later. But let's get the head and the body first, and then we'll draw the baby, and then we'll draw the legs behind. Okay, so let's get this head, and I want to double check I got the right width, pretty much. Yeah, I think I'm a little bit. Okay, so Let's draw the head with more detail. So we've got the forehead kind of goes up. Again, try not to over round things. Try to really notice. We've got these angles. And then you can kind of see the angle of the eye. Yeah, if I showed you a different angle to that head, there is sort of a hollow area between the two eyes, and you see that a little bit here. So there's going to be a little bit of forehead thing here, and then, another bit here for where the other eye is. And then the trunk, and since their trunk is so movable, your trunk can be anywhere you want it to be if you want. But we're going to be putting it inside the mouth. And notice that it's really thick here where the mouth is. Don't forget, this is the mouth. And the trunk is just their nostrils. But they also use that, of course, to take in water and to touch and comfort their babies. And again, you notice I'm not erasing anything. I'm just going a little bit darker where I think my correct lines are. Because I'm really used to drawing in the field. And you're not going to be able to do much erasing in the field. Now we'll add all those little wrinkles and stuff later to the trunk. There are tons of muscles, hundreds of muscles in there for working the trunk. So yeah, they're going to be putting their trunk in their mouth for various reasons, to drink and such. I was watching a YouTube channel the other day where this guy was out in a safari, and he came upon an elephant that was walking towards him, and he could tell the elephant was a little bit unsure because he said it was putting the trunk in its mouth, kind of like how we can suck our thumb when we're nervous as a child. And I thought that was kind of interesting. Okay, now I'll fix that later. Okay, now the eye. And so we're seeing that eye from the side, and it's pretty small. It's not very well lit, but again, I can just show you another picture. You can see the eye, and it's got a bunch of wrinkles above and below it. And here's another picture. So it's really wonderful to have multiple photographs or be able to observe an animal while it's living its life from multiple directions. I love sketching elephants at the zoo. We have a wonderful zoo in Portland, Oregon, and I spent a day sketching elephants and rhinos at the Seattle Zoo as well a while back. That was really fun. Okay, so now we have sort of the mouth. I'm just not happy with this mouth. I have to fix this a bit. He's got kind of more like she has this, and then the mouth kind of goes like that, and then the lip. Okay, that's a little closer. Now let's get that ear, and that ear is super muscular, and it goes really far back. Again, if I want to, I can measure that. Yeah, I think I'm pretty close. And then it kind of sweeps forward, and it's kind of wrinkled, and then comes up here and up here. And the actual opening to the ear is way up here, and it's pretty small. And so the muscles are constantly moving that ear. They move them to show their aggression or pleasure. And they also flap their ears to cool off. Now you can see the shadow of the other ear. This is actually the neck here. The neck is coming down like this. So that line should be the same. And then the other ear, you can see it in shadow. I'll just add that right now so that we're not confused. That's the shadow of the other ear, the elephant's right ear. All righty. And so now let's work on this front leg because our baby elephant is going to be behind that. So we can totally add all of that. So again, noticing that we have a shoulder here. I probably made mine a little bit too big here. And that shoulder, if you could see under the skin, is coming down that shoulder blade and then kind of articulating, with the elbow. And then there's this other angle here where you can really see. And then it's really thick here and gets skinnier, and then big triangle for the muscular, strong foot. So we want to show that there's some angles here. Now, I find feet pretty hard to draw. When I was a kid, I drew a lot of horses because I wanted a horse, and I did finally get a horse when I was in 5th grade. But I always had a hard time drawing a horse. But that's because I didn't really study the anatomy like I do now. So that expanded foot, and then you can't see very well in this photograph, but you can put some toes in. The toes there's going to be 5, but from the side you can probably only see 3, like that. All righty. And then let's see, our little baby elephant's going to be in front there pretty soon. Okay, then first, let's finish this back area and the belly, and then we can add the baby and the other legs. Okay, so the back has a little sway to it here, and then we have the hip. And just notice how I'm just darkening again the lines that I'm really liking, and I'm not worrying about erasing. Because again, I like to teach people how to kind of try to sketch in the field. As if you were in the field and you don't have time to erase. Okay, and we're going to put the baby between these legs here, so it really looks like it's going to be nursing. So we will be drawing this back leg. And again, notice and think about where those bones are underneath. So there's part of that hip bone is here that you can see a shadow of. And then you can see a shadow coming here, which is the knee. And again, don't over round this stuff. Try to really show that there's an angle. And then we have pretty thick leg. And it should be sort of in line with this leg. We'll add some grass later. And that leg 2 is muscular back here. We've got those muscles here. Females aren't as large as the bulls, but they do still have a lot of muscles. They're going to be, walking many hundreds of miles in their life, especially seasonally, to find good food. And then we'll put a couple toes on there, and they only have 4 toes in the back, but again, you can see all of them anyway. So I'm just going to add 2 that we could maybe see from this side. All righty. Now, let's get that belly, and we're going to first make sure we add her teats, because this is Mother's Day. We are talking about mothers. So we're going to have a little teat there. And let me show you again what those look like. So you can actually see her nipple there. And you can see a nipple here on this one really well. And you can also see the teat right here. Isn't that cool? All right. So we're going to make sure to make this a female and have that emphasize that nice teat right there. Okay. And then kind of making her kind of fatter down here. And you see it sort of goes here. All righty. Okay. So you see how this soft pencil kind of smears a bit. And so I generally wouldn't use a pencil in the field if I was sketching real elephants or even at the zoo. Um, so yesterday in my live workshop over on Instagram, which you can find at a link in my link tree, or no, wait, this is YouTube. But anyway, if you look me up on Instagram, that elder girl, you can see a live sketching demo I did. And I was showing using colored pencils that don't smear. Okay, let's put this cute little baby in. And so this is basically an outline of this, but you can't see this very well on the video probably. So I'm just gonna put him or her, who knows? This is a boy or a girl. I'm gonna put him right there. So let's kind of add him or her. Yeah, actually we might, yeah, let's just get that head. The trunk's gonna be kind of like this. We're gonna put an ear in front of the belly to make it look like he's in front. Kind of like that. And then the body is gonna be here. It's gonna be pretty short, partly because it's looking towards us a bit. Okay, so let me draw that a little darker now for you. Let's get that forehead and that cute little trunk. Now, they don't nurse with their trunk. I don't want you to get that idea, but let's say the baby is just kind of sniffing the smell of the mother with the trunk. But he or she's going to put its mouth right up to that teat. Okay, and then we got a ear we're going to put in front of the belly and a bigger ear because it's closer to us. Actually, no, let's have that other ear behind the belly because he is kind of underneath. That would make it more realistic, wouldn't it? And let's get that ear there and the ear opening. And then let's get the rump, the hip, and we got the back leg and the other back leg and the cute little tail kind of out there. Let's see. And then the front leg. This guy's, not going to be as realistic because I couldn't see him as well in the photo. But you see how I just get kind of symbolically the shapes. And I'm making these toes a little bit higher than the mother's legs because it's a slightly farther away, right? It's kind of inside and under the belly, right? So that's why I'm making this shorter. And I'm just going to make it seem like it's putting this other foot sort of in front and then lifting this one. The babies are so cute when you watch them nursing. They're all pushing to try to get in there to the belly. And it'll have a couple toes on there too. And then let's give it a cute little eye and some wrinkles around the eye. Now, it would be nice if we had a position of this elephant kind of looking at her baby, but we don't. Okay, so now we know where the baby is, under the mama's belly, sniffing at the teat, kind of thinking about trying to get up there and nursing. Then we can add those other legs back in. And since we kind of blocked those in and we can see this negative shape between the legs, we can kind of get that a little bit more realistic. You can see how this one's touching There's a little angle that is touching the ground and lifting, and you can see the bottom of the footprint a bit. And yeah, putting that behind the trunk. And that's going to really help us see that the baby calf is in front and sort of under the mother. And then the back legs, you can't really see that back leg. We won't put much emphasis on that. It's going to be, we're going to shadow that. And it's going to kind of go sort of like this, let's say. Not going to really show that much. Okay, how are we doing so far? I'd love to have you say hello in the chat box if you can. And we are finally going to start doing a little bit of erasing. So I am going to use this erasing pencil, actually. It's a whole eraser that's a pencil, and you can sharpen this thing too. Isn't that fun? All right, so I'm finally going to get around to doing some erasing. You know, and if you were in the field in a zoo or actually lucky enough to be on a safari, there might be a point where, you know, the elephants have all walked away from you and you have a little bit more time to work on your drawing. And, you know, that's when you might start erasing. But yeah. And again, if you're following along, don't feel bad if yours isn't the proportions as good as mine are. In fact, you know, mine aren't even really exact. And it is a little bit challenging to draw and talk at the same time because drawing uses your right brain and talking uses your left brain. So, yeah, we have this part. Now we can start doing some shading. Isn't that fun? Yeah. And so if, again, if you're following along, you can keep following. If you feel like you need to work on your proportions more, you can just keep doing that or just stop and watch me as I do some shadowing. And I'm going to use this fun technique that's super quick that you might not have, but I'm just going to help you to see. And when we're drawing, we really want to know where the sun is. And we can tell where the sun is on this animal by the shadows. And so it looks like, you know, it's pretty much, we see shadow here. So we know the sun is kind of coming this way, maybe. It could even be up here somewhere. But we're just going to put it conveniently kind of right here. And yeah, the lighting here is a little bit flat. So then we're just going to do some shading. And we're just going to try to notice where the darker areas are. And we're going to think about a value scale. So a value of lightest to darkest. So the lightest would be the white of the paper. And that's one reason I almost always give my students pictures with the animal cut out from its background, which takes me a while to do. It's quicker now with the AI, but I do that in Photoshop. And so then you can really see the animal better and you can see the highlights and shadows compared to the white of the paper. So in this elephant, you can see that there's some highlights of like a value of 1 up here. And the highlights where there's bones here, like the hip bone. And on the front of the foot, you see some darker areas sort of on the top. And it gets darker down below, like 4 and 5 in the deepest shadows of the belly and the inner legs, because that shadow sun is being blocked by the big, large body, right? So having that in mind, we're going to start shadowing. And, it doesn't matter what you have. If you just have a regular pencil, you can just start shadowing with your pencil. And I would start at the head and just kind of start very lightly noticing. And again, if you get a chance to go to my the link that I put below to my course, there's a free preview of the elephant workshop where you can download these high resolution images. And so if you are able to look at something from different angles, it really helps you to understand, the shaping based on the skull. And in my course, I talk a lot about how the shape of the skeleton and the ligaments and muscles and tendons all help to shape the skin, which helps to shape the whole animal and helps to tell you where the highlights and shadows are. So in my course, I always provide a lot of reference photos for you to be, learning about the shape of your animal. And so, yeah, where am I here? Just going to put these photos here for fun for you to look at. I'll move these over here. And so, yeah, anyway, you could just use your pencil. But for fun, I just want to show you how I use this charcoal pencil. I use a soft charcoal pencil, extra soft, and I will just pulverize it a bit on here. And then I'll take a blending stomp, also called a tortillon, and then I'll put it in here. And I can start to add some shadows very, very quickly. So I am just really kind of noticing quickly where those shadows are. And shadows under the eye. And you can blend it with your finger too. This is really an iterative process because it takes a while to do to get this. But you can see a lot of shadows here, and there's shadows on the trunk going down, and more shadows underneath here. And then shadows where the ear opens up. And again, you can use your finger if you want. And then really deep shadows, cast shadow here, where the sun is casting a shadow under the ear. And then super deep shadow under the ear with the other ear. And then, we've got some more shadows here. We can kind of emphasize the teat here a bit, leave that, and make some really deep shadows behind. And that'll help to emphasize that this is the female, this is the mother matriarch, and that's her teat. The baby is going to be suckling off of. And I also put the trunk in front of the dark leg, also just to help with showing three-dimensional form. So, sometimes you want to think about that when you're composing a drawing, is how you overlap things and what will be in highlight and what will be in shadow. And so we want to really emphasize that teat and the baby's trunk in front. And then we can add some more shadowing. And again, we can, we want to erase the mother's belly there. So yeah, I did this very much on purpose, the way I put the baby, so that there's some overlapping and there's going to be some highlights and shadows to really show that the baby is under the belly. And this is looking, really rough for now because it takes a while. And actually I could get some, shadowing a little bit everywhere. That could be fun. I could just do it with my finger, couldn't I? Oh, that's fun. You just do it with my finger. That's super quick. So you see how messy these are, but they are fun. Uh, and some more shadow here. And yeah, and you can see the tail is a bit more shadowed than the body because again, the sun is shining this way and the rump is shadowing the tail. So those are just really subtle things that you can notice. So you see how I'm actually drawing with this blending stump. But if I wanted to, I could draw with the actual shadow, the pencil as well, the charcoal pencil. So, like, for example, if I wanted to get really some better details, like that shadow behind and that behind there, and emphasizing that trunk, that's cute. And then, shadowing the baby. And since the baby is pretty much under the mother, I might really shadow a lot of the baby. And that will help us to see that it's under the mother. And then, as usual, part of the baby. Why is this acting weird? This pencil is not wanting to shadow. I'm just going to switch to this. But you get the idea here. But it just really helps to contrast values to make things look more three-dimensional. So I'm contrasting this this ear that's underneath with a little bit lighter belly, and contrasting the leg shadowed under the open mouth, and kind of this, and the whole guy is going to be a little bit more shadowed underneath than its rump anyway. That eye is way too big. It's okay. There, that's cute. We can kind of emphasize the face because we can make it look like the face is coming towards us a little bit. Okay. Wow. Okay. Kind of have a mess here. All right. So then let's see. Let's go back and start adding some more detail. Now, we could spend so much time on this. But I like to, go back and let's get some more detail. I'm just switching to this other pencil just cause. And, but no matter what kind of pencil you have, let's just go back to the head now. And, I really like to spend some time on an animal's face because, that's the soul of the animal, the eye, and really shadowing under there and under here. So just like in life, there's happy times and there's sad times, there's sunny times and there's cloudy times. I'm going to get this little wrinkly. And so you have to, take there's no rainbows without rain is what I'm saying. And it's kind of like in drawing, is that if you don't have some shadows, you can't have highlights. And so the more you can really see those shadows, the more it will emphasize that certain parts are highlighted, like this ear up top, right? And so we really want to, think about that and work on that carefully. And, that can take some time, but it takes just looking really carefully at something. And we've got so many cool wrinkles. Because remember, these matriarchs can live 70 years. There'll be more shadowed wrinkles on the bottom here, and then wrinkles on the ear. And then we see some cool, like, wavy patterns. Am I getting that? Maybe I can do it with this. Kind of wavy patterns. Why am I having a hard time with this today? Might be my type of my paper. Anyway, so, you see those wavy patterns. And again, I want you to think about, don't worry so much if your drawing doesn't look exactly like an elephant. I want you to focus on how much you're learning about elephants while you're drawing them. There's these interesting wrinkles around the elbow here, I notice, and lots of shadowed wrinkles down here. And, the whole body has some wrinkles all over the body that we could spend a long time with. And then I see a shadow here that's actually part of kind of goes into the tail, it looks like. It's kind of a shadow. And then more shadows here, more shadows on this part of the leg and this part of the leg. Because again, this lower leg is narrower than than this muscular area or the belly. And so again, the sun is going to be blocked by this big belly onto the legs. So the more you really observe and think about the three-dimensional form, yeah, sometimes I stop talking because I'm really getting into my right brain. Like, you see how there's more shadow in the bottom part of this leg. Now we need to add the toes. And then the bottom here is the bottom of the foot. Okay, what else here? Oh yeah, the back leg. I want to really emphasize that to being behind the baby. I think that's about where it would be. Okay. A little bit more in that cute baby. Let's emphasize that ear, bring it forward a bit, and putting the belly a little bit behind. And then that back leg really in shadow. So yeah, to get something realistic, we really want to contrast values next to each other. So we can see that this guy is in front of the leg, this ear is in front of the belly. This lighter colored tusk is in front of the back leg. And so this can take quite a while to really look closely at values that are next to each other. And again, we can smear it and stuff. And if we wanted to lighten up some areas, we could. So yeah, I just tend to go back and forth a bunch. All righty. How are we doing? If you can comment, I would love to see your comments in the chat box. Yeah, so we've been running an hour, so I do want to wrap this up. But I've gotten you started and I've given you some tips on three-dimensional form, and I'm thinking about relative proportions. I'm trying to show some things in front of something or underneath. And we've talked a lot about why elephants are wonderful mothers, partly because they're pregnant for almost 2 years. They nurse their babies for over 2 years, and they teach their babies, especially their female calves, as they grow throughout their whole lives, which can be up to 60 to 70 years. And they have to teach them all about predators and where to graze and where to get the best fresh water and where to migrate. So they're really wonderful mothers. And yeah, so I do want to make sure that you know about my course, my Sketching Mammals of the World course. It's available at the link in the description box below here. And it's 30% off, and you can do a payment plan too if you want. In this course, I cover 35 or more families of mammals around the world, from mammals in the ocean like sea lions and dolphins and whales to mammals of the land like elephants, mammals on all the continents. I cover lots of species in Africa because I love Africa, but also in North America and Asia and Europe. My course covers even mammals of the sky, which are like the bats. I've got several workshops on bats. And then each of my workshops, I talk a lot about the biology of the animal. So even if you feel like you can't draw very well or even don't want to draw, my course on Sketching Mammals of the World will teach you just as much about their anatomy and behavior and conservation as they will about drawing them. And, so if you're just a wildlife enthusiast or a biologist, maybe if you're a zookeeper or environmental educator, this class would be for you. And then I start the class or the course with a series of 6 workshops on drawing different parts of animals, like drawing realistic heads, understanding the internal anatomy, like the skeleton and how that affects the proportions. I have a class on how to draw fur realistically, whereas, this elephant, some species don't have much fur and some species have a lot more fur, and how to draw, three-dimensional form, how to draw moving animals, because most of the time animals are not sitting still like in this photograph. So I teach you how to draw from videos and how to draw in the field live, like at a zoo or an aquarium, or if you're actually on an African safari. So I really suggest you check out that course, again, in the description box below. And I've also set the African elephant workshop as free so that you can learn more about elephants. Now, if you're watching this sometime in the future, that link may not work because I don't always offer all of my courses at once. I have over 20 courses that I offer. In general, I'm only offering about 5 at a time because I don't want to, promote everything at once. And I like to sort of have themes throughout the year of what I'm teaching. And so if you're watching this, some other month of the year or some other year, that link, the free link, and any other links might not work. So I encourage you, if you're watching this anytime near Mother's Day, May 2025, you go check that out as soon as possible. And then you can, really see again that workshop where I talk more, where you can see the video, the whole tutorial on elephants. And you can download these, I think, 5 or 6 pages of these high resolution images that I'm offering for free for now, for Mother's Day. And again, that offer might not be around for very long. Okay, well, I could keep working on this forever. As you see, you could add a lot more shadowing and highlights. You could add a lot more of these, amazing patterns to make it look more realistic. And again, the more time you spend drawing it, the more you'll really understand the anatomy, all those interesting wrinkles that give so much character to the older elephants. They earn those wrinkles just like us older gals earn ours in our lives. And yeah, you just learn a bit more about the anatomy the longer you look at it. So I hope you really enjoyed this little workshop celebrating animal moms, specifically the elephant, because that's what my followers voted on the most as the elephant they wanted to learn more about. And so if you're not already subscribed or if you haven't liked this video or commented, please do so. And please share this with someone you know, especially kids, or again, if you know someone that works at a zoo that would like to be able to incorporate, the idea of more sketching with their student programs to help their students learn about anatomy through sketching. If you know somebody who's a middle school teacher or environmental educator or a field biologist working with elephants, or anybody. And if you've drawn this with me today, again, you've learned not only a little bit about how to draw, but mostly I hope you've learned a lot more about the elephant. And yeah, just the fact that when you draw something, you're really going to learn more about it and appreciate it more, and hopefully gain some inspiration to protect it. Elephants have lots of threats, of course, from poachers who kill them for their tusks, to the loss of habitat, to all of that stuff. So the act of looking at something long enough to draw it is hopefully going to inspire you to want to conserve it and learn more about its conservation and threats. And that is what I find most important, as an environmental educator. That's why I teach the drawing, not just for you to make a pretty picture, but to really appreciate that animal. Okay, well, I'm going to sign off. I hope you really enjoyed this. Please share this with friends. Please like and comment and subscribe to my channel, and check out some of my other videos on wildlife that I've shared with you in the past. And yeah, tell me in the comments other types of animals you'd like to learn how to draw. Okay, well, I'm going to get going. So bye-bye.